Yo, what is up, Broncos country? How's it going today, guys? Me and Muhammad are back with our gut reaction, along with many other things to go over from last night's preseason game. And you know, I'm just happy football's back. Honestly, it's a great time. Like we got two more preseason games, and you got like the week between the third week of the preseason and the first week of the regular season, where they cut down the roster. So it's gonna be a fun couple of like football's back, guys. Like we literally have football from here until February. So, but Mohammed, the first thing I wanted to get into is I wanted to get your thoughts on last night's game with the first team offense and Bo Nix because it seems like a lot of people are having like a panic attack, and two of my personal favorite people on X, Benjamin Albright and James Merritt, were literally acting like they were joking, talking about, oh, it looks like Studi, he's the spark on this team that we need. But what were your thoughts to the first team offense and Bo Nix last night?
Oh, really, Eddie. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. I was kind of disappointed. I mean, there was all this hype about our offense, and I was kind of ready for football. I wanted to see our offense, perform and stuff. Was I panic? Am I gonna panic? No, no reason to be concerned. It's just a preseason game. They haven't played in what 9 months or 6 months, something like that. A little bit rusty start. Was a little disappointed, like I said, but it looked like they've gotten a little better. If they were given more time, I think they would have been getting a lot better. I'm pretty sure they'll be better next week. If they let both starts, I think they will. But as far as like concern, saying that oh my God, we're gonna lose, and Bonix is not playing well. No, no, it's just trust. It's normal. I'm glad we see it. I mean, even Sean Payton after the fact said that he think there's some stuff they need to clean up and stuff. But I'm not panicked or anything. Just disappointed.
Yeah, Sean Payton came out last night and well, I've been seeing a lot of things that said he was PO'd, pretty mad, but I don't think he was mad. I think yeah, he's probably a little frustrated because the first string offense really didn't play that well, but it's preseason.
Yeah.
Um, Preseason, you're not really doing too much. You're not getting exotic with your play calling. You're just doing vanilla play calling, and honestly, it just they look rusty to me. The offense did, and I'm not too worried about it because there was somebody I was watching earlier that said the practice is what you really need to look at. Like the joint practice that we had with the 49ers last week before the game. That's where you really need to look at, not the game. The game is very vanilla because like in the joint practices, that's whenever they actually run their playbook. Like the Broncos are going to open it up. It's not going to be vanilla because it's not live TV. They can run their entire playbook during the joint practice because there's not, like video out there of it where teams can snatch it up. In the preseason, they're not going to show what they're going to be doing in the regular season because it's broadcasted live. And I kind of stopped and thought about that. I'm like, yeah, that seems like it would make sense. And Bo Nix looked great. And the first team offense looked great last week against in the joint practice against the 49ers. But it's just funny to me that people are freaking out. I'm like, even in the preseason game, like I'm fine with Bo Nix making mistakes. I'm fine with the starters making, mistakes in the preseason because that's just what it is. It's preseason. These games, outside of evaluating young talent, like young players that you bring in, these games mean jack. They mean nothing. And I would say the same thing even if we would have lost. Like, I don't care about the wins or losses. Like, yeah, it's nice to see the Broncos win, but that win really doesn't mean anything in the greater stance of things in the bigger picture. Like, oh, you won a preseason game, like last year, we won all three preseason games, and I said the same thing. I'm like, these games don't mean nothing. Yeah, we went 10-7, but do those wins in the preseason help you make the playoffs? No, they don't. They don't mean jack. Those games are mostly to show what your young guys are capable of doing and who's going to be like your third, your fourth, your fifth string, whoever, whatever position. That's it. That's all those games are good for. I mean, and knocking the rust off a little bit. Getting back in there because it's live game action, but like again, the players are not trying that. Well, not the starters. I don't think they're trying that hard. The starters, the backups, yeah, they're going to try hard because they're trying to make the roster. The starters already know they're on the roster. Like they don't have to try And again, just like with the play calling, they're not going to sit there and show you all the exotic stuff they're going to do during the regular season to put that on tape for other teams to see. Right now, they're not going to do that. So, and my favorite, honestly, Mohammed, and there's two people I've had problems with these last years that I've argued with on X, and honestly, I don't even know why they're part of the Denver media. They truly do not like the Broncos or Bo Nix at all. And that's Benjamin Albright and James Merritt. Like, I saw Benjamin Albright, he hasn't really been too bad this year so far. James Merritt's been the worst one. He said, "Oh, look, Stiddy's the spark." And whenever people were questioning him on it, he's like, "Why would you say this? Why are you a Broncos reporter if you're just gonna bash the Broncos every chance you get, or Bo Nix every chance you get?" And he's like, "It was a joke. That I was referring to 2023 whenever, Sean Payton said we needed a spark on offense." Sure you did, James. Sure you did. Sure you freaking did. These people seriously sit and lay and wait for Bo Nix to make any mistake. Anytime Bo Nix, and it's not even just the offense, dude. It's like clearly they didn't say anything about the offense. It was strictly about Bo Nix. These people are just chomping at the bit for Bo Nix to say anything bad, do anything wrong, have one bad play, and they jump on it like vultures. They do. They just jump on it. And it's like, okay, so what? Bo Nix had a bad game. One, he's a starter. Two, he's in a second year and he's still growing. Like, and he's not really doing, Sean Payton's not, calling like really, like their best plays. And I'm not too worried about it. And the funny thing is that it wasn't just Bo Nix. Like the offensive line was struggling last night.
Yeah.
The offensive line's going to be ranked. They ranked them top 2. PFF did. They were a top unit last year in the NFL. And if you want to critique somebody, which I still wouldn't, but it's like, look at Cortland Sutton. Cortland Sutton had 2 passes last night that he dropped. There was one that Bo Nix threw to him. It was on the sideline. Cortland Sutton just like bobbles it and drops it. The second one was one that Bo Nix threw to him in the end zone. And Cortland Sutton, people were saying, "Oh, it was underthrown." I'm like, "No, it wasn't. It was right there." Yeah, the DB had his hands there, but sometimes that happens, regardless if it's a good throw or bad throw. The DB will have his hands there, but Cortland Sutton, you just got paid $92 million. You're supposed to make these catches. You wanted the money. We gave you the money to be our number one. You need to make those catches. But I'm not going to bash Cortland Sutton too bad on that because, again, it's preseason. He's probably rusty. Whatever. But it's just funny to me that these people don't say nothing about the offensive line didn't block well. Nothing about Cortland Sutton dropping 2 passes that he should have caught, but they're just going to bash Bo Nix. That pisses me off more than anything else. So, but I am happy that the Broncos won the game. I mean, our backups looked really, really good. And honestly, Mohammed, I was on X today. I was on there and I was reading 49er fans, comments on there. And even 49er fans were like, yeah, it's a meaningless preseason game. We want to see what our backups can do. But as far as winning the game, they didn't really care. Like, I don't care if we win or lose the preseason game. I just want to watch football because I'm a fan of the Broncos. I just want to watch them. If they win, that's a bonus. But I mostly want to see what the young cats are going to do. So, but with that said, I wanted to jump into this, Mohammed, and I want to get your thoughts. What was your gut reaction to the game last night? We kind of went over the offense and Bo Nix, but what was your overall gut reaction to the game last night?
Well, Eddie, like you said, not just looking at the score or how the offense performed. I was actually trying to look at certain players. Bo Nix, for example, just looked in complete command of the offense. The way he was just slinging that ball, he was gliding, Eddie. He just felt like he's like, I'm the quarterback of this team. I'm confident. I'm gonna run this offense. Nobody's gonna beat me. That's the feeling that I got. Like he was in charge. He wasn't nervous. He was like in charge. Like didn't even look like this is a second year quarterback. So I was very impressed with that. I was very happy to see RJ Harvey finally. Very shifty. I like the way he was making those cuts and stuff. It just tells me what we're should be expecting to see in the future. Um, Overall, yeah, I mean the offense, struggled a little bit. The O line, the whole team. I mean, Sutton dropped that ball. That should have been a touchdown. Um, I know Bonix also struggled with that safety when he threw the ball. I mean, it was just a lot of things happening at the same time, but we'll put that to rust. Now, I was very impressed with Stidham. I'm not saying he's the spark the team needs, but God forbid anything happens, we have a backup quarterback that we can trust. Like he can run the offense. Anything happens, it shows that this is his third year, so he's doing really well. The depth on that defense is crazy, Eddie. Like we have such a depth when it comes to the defense. There's going to be some hard decisions to make for them as far as like who gets cut and who makes the roster. Like the way McMillan, you know, um, intercepted that ball. Bonito, he almost had 3 sacks back to back. But overall, the defense looked impressive. Offense struggled a little bit. The backups looked pretty well. Running backs, oh my God, Blake Watson. I'm sure we're going to be talking about the running backs later. But overall, I'm very happy with the performance.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. Like our defense showed out last night, not just the starters, but the backups too. Like I think they got like 5 turnovers last night.
Mhm.
First, second, third stringers all got turnovers last night. And like this pass rush room, like the outside linebacker room, is deep. Like I don't, they got some hard decisions to make. Even at corner, like corner Sertan, like you didn't really see too much. Like they didn't really throw his way a lot, but we know what he is. Riley Moss, played well. Jaquan McMillan played well. I will say Barron did struggle a little bit, but first game, let's see what he does in the second game. And then Chris Abrams Drain, another backup freaking corner, man. He was balling last night.
He sure did.
The Broncos had a lot of hard decisions to make on the defense. And on the offensive side of the ball, like, of course, receiver, but that running room, holy crap. Like, I'm calling it now. Maybe it's a little too early, but I'm going to call it now. Your starting running backs, I think the Broncos are only going to carry 3. Your running backs on this roster are going to be J.K. Dobbins, RJ Harvey, of course. And could you guess who my third one's going to be, Mohammed?
Blake Watson
Nope. Tyler Bidet.
today. Okay.
Bidet's going to be the third. I think Estimate's probably gone. I think Jaleel might go onto the practice squad, but he might get picked up, and then Blake Watson will go on there. But dude, Bidet was just balling last night, dude. Um, I'm excited, dude. Like the coaches, they have a real hard time on this, but those were the standouts to me. The standouts in this game were Chris Abrams Drain, what did I just say? Tyler Bidet, you know, who was the other one? Nick Benito, of course, but we already know what he kind of is. And who was the other one? There was another one out there. I think it was Pat Bryant. Pat Bryant had a couple of solid catches. But, dude, like, I do not envy these coaches here coming up in a couple of weeks. I make these roster cuts, dude, because it's going to be hard to do. Really, it is. This team, they dominated last night, especially the second, third stringers. They dominated last night. Now, the Broncos offense did get an extra, drive or an extra series compared to the defense. I think defense only got like 2, but by the second drive, they were like, they locked in, they were good. The Broncos, first string offense kind of struggled, so they got a, extra one. But I said this morning, like, I'm not worried about it. Like, now watch next week. Of course, we know the Broncos starters are going to play next week. Like, there's no doubt in my mind they're going to play. You're going to see a different Broncos offense. I'm not going to say they're going to be out there just balling and score like, on every drive and they're going to pick up, a first down on every play, but they're going to look better this coming up week against the Cardinals than they did last week against the 49ers. Bo Nix, like I said, if there's any time for him to make the offense to make, a mistake, it's now in the preseason and in practice. But overall, dude, the game was fun to watch last night. It was a little rough there at first. You know,
Mm.
our first string defense, they had the 49ers second string offense in there. Our first string defense got beat. They got beat with a touchdown. I think it was their first or second series. I can't remember. I think it was the first. They got beat and the 49ers scored a touchdown. The only other points the 49ers got was from Bo Nix, running and him getting that intentional grounding call. That was it. And after that, the Broncos scored 30 unanswered points. 30 unanswered. Jared Stidham, to me, honestly, yes, he was the best out there last night. He was the player of the game, in my opinion. 2 touchdowns, I think like 121 yards, something like that. I can't remember how many completions he had, how many attempts, but it looked good. Like Stidham is our backup. Like Sam Ellinger, he's going to most likely be on the practice squad because I don't think Sean, with all the roster moves they're going to have to make, I don't think Ellinger is going to be on this active roster come week 1 because they're probably going to use that spot for either another pass rusher or running back, corner, whatever they decide to use it on. Um, of course, but I did want to touch on this, Mohammed, before we move on to our next thing. Like, we kind of figured Dre Greenlaw and Alex Singleton weren't going to be out there, which they weren't. We kind of knew that was going to be the case, but what were your thoughts on the fact that Brandon Jones wasn't out there? Are you concerned with that at all?
I was Eddie. I'm not gonna lie to you. I was even with Greenlaw. I know they're saying that it's something minor. It's they're just being cautious. But it's kind of making me a little bit nervous. Is there anything else going on? And then the fact that he wasn't there, Brandon wasn't there neither, kind of makes me think like, what's going on? But hey, we'll see. We'll see next week. They might play, so hopefully it's not just. I honestly think Eddie, with this linebacker situation, if they're healthy, this would push us deep in the playoffs. You know, I honestly think this is going to make a big difference in our defense. So hopefully the guys are back healthy and we see them. Nothing's going on.
Well, I agree with you, Muhammad. I don't think keep them out, keep them healthy, but I do want them to at least get a few snaps in the preseason. Greenlaw, Singleton, and Brandon Jones. And this week's going to be the week because, like I said, Sean Payton over the last couple of years, he didn't play his starters in the third preseason game. He played them in the first 2, but he didn't play them in the third. So that's kind of my thing. Like, I'm not saying you got to keep him out there for a whole drive or a whole series. I'm talking about Greenlaw, Singleton, and Brandon Jones. But I want them out there for at least a few snaps, just to get a few snaps, get that under their belt, get back into the swing of an actual live game action, just get out there for it, you know. And then after a few snaps, just pull them out. Be like, okay, they got their stuff. They're done for the preseason. We'll just worry about them coming back week 1. I understand people are worried about injuries, but you got to play your starters. I'm sorry. Like I know there's a lot of teams out there like the Rams that don't play their starters in the preseason, but dude, I think that's silly. I think that's just kind of a detriment because you you don't have to play them for a whole quarter. You don't have to play them for a whole drive. Just get them out there and let them play a few snaps. See what they can do. Just let them knock the rust off and get out there and start running around and
Absolutely.
going.
I agree
Getting
with
their
you.
body. It's not even just about putting them out there to see what they can do because you already know what they can do. It's about getting their bodies acclimated to that kind of stuff again before the season starts. You don't want to wait till week 1, just boom, throw them in. Like okay, time to go, let's go.
Yeah.
And then their body has to get adjusted to the game speed of the NFL for that season. Like, look what happened to us a few years ago. Nathaniel Hackett's here. He didn't play a single starter throughout the preseason. Did that help us? No. Yeah, we stayed healthy, but how many injuries did we have throughout that season? And what was our record by the end of that season? It wasn't good, I can tell you that. So, I just, like I said, next week, I want to see Greenlaw, Singleton, and Brandon Jones. I want to see them at least get a couple of snaps, at least like I'd say 5.
Yeah.
Maybe a series. Yeah, give them a series and just, let them get their bodies used to the speed of the game again. Because, like, they've been off season, dude. It's been, what, 7 months? So, but next up, we're at almost 20 minutes, guys. We're probably going to dip out early tonight because I'm not feeling well. And, I just got a lot of stuff to do too tonight. But Also, would you guys please like, comment, subscribe on this video? Also, hit that bell notification so you know when we go live. But the next thing I want to talk about, Mohammed, in your opinion and your thoughts, I want to get your thoughts on this like wholeheartedly. Did Nick Bonito, after one game, did he justify getting a contract extension?
I mean, I wouldn't say just this game, Eddie. We already knew what he did last season, but when you look at the sacks that he had last night, the speed, the way he's playing, I don't think he has anything else to prove, Eddie. If we wait, if we wait to pay him, the price is just going to keep going up because we don't know what's going to happen with Michael Parsons, right? If he gets traded or he stays with the Cowboys, he's going to get paid. Once he start getting paid, that price is going to go up if we wait. Things change. So go ahead and pay the man. I don't think he has to prove anything, Eddie. I think he already did. Go ahead, pay him, and let's put this behind us. That's what I believe.
Well, see, I'm not worried about Michael Parsons getting his contract before Nick Bonito because Michael Parsons, I love Nick Bonito. I do. I think he's a great pass rusher. He's a great young player. But I'm sorry, but he's not to the likes of a TJ Watt or a Max Crosby or who was the other one? Other big name that signed this offseason. Who was the other one? Myles Garrett. He's not in that same stratosphere yet. Now, maybe after this year, he could be. Depending on what type of year he has. And he's not in the Michael Parsons level yet. So even Michael Parsons signs his new contract, Nick Bonito is not going to break your bank. We talked about this a few weeks ago. I think Nick Bonito is probably going to get somewhere. And I was pretty dang close on Zach Allen and Cortland Sutton whenever I said they're probably going to get anywhere from like $23 to like $28 million a year. I was not spot on, but I was pretty close. Yeah. And like I said, I think it's going to be the same thing for Nick Bonito. I think it's going to be in that 22 to like $25 a year range is what I think it's going to be. And I'm not saying don't pay Nick Bonito, but I don't know if they're going to do it after just this one preseason game. They want to see more. Like, we're going to see Nick Bonito again this week and here at home because we actually play the Cardinals here at home next week. If he has another, like, I still think they're going to wait until midseason, not just because of that, because I actually looked on over the cap and over the cap. The Broncos have negative $600,000, or is it positive 600? Like they only got like 600,000 or negative 600,000. So, but you guys stop and think too. There's still 35 million this year wrapped up into the Russell Wilson thing. So that's another 35 million that we don't have. That if we had right now, I'm sure Nick Bonito probably would have been paid by now. But at the same time, I'm not so sure. I think the Broncos want to see at least another half a season of Nick Bonito doing what he did last year. Like, give it to like week 8 or week 9. If Nick Bonito shows you he's on the same trajectory or he's doing the same thing as he did last season, boom, pay him. And I think that's probably what they're going to do. And honestly, even if they pay Nick Bonito now, that money really doesn't take effect until next season anyway. His salary's already, unless they give him some like signing bonuses, like which they don't have the money for now. But like if they were to give him a new contract extension, that money, doesn't really kick in until next year. He's still going to be on his contract, his rookie contract, I believe, right now for this year, which is why I think the Broncos are going to wait until like mid-season. They're going to wait until mid-season, see if Nick Bonito can be the same as he was last year, at least halfway through the season. Then they'll pay him. I think is what's going to happen. I'm not saying don't pay Nick Bonito. I just think that's what the owners think. If it was up to me, I would honestly probably wait until a couple weeks into the season. I'd say probably about 2 weeks into the season, just to get that small glimpse. Because I think they paid Jonathan Cooper too early. Not saying Jonathan Cooper's not good, but if the Broncos could go back in time, if they had a time machine to go back in time, I think they would pay Nick Bonito over Jonathan Cooper last year.
True.
I really do. So, and that's the other thing we got to take into account here. Like maybe the Broncos are regretting that a little bit. Maybe they're like, listen, oh man, we should have waited at least until the end of the season to see what Nick Bonito, like I guarantee you by the end of the season, the Broncos were probably kicking themselves like, damn, we like Jonathan Cooper, but we really should have gave that money to Nick Bonito. So, but I think it's going to be a while. I think the owners and the GM are going to wait until midseason, but I'd be okay with after the first 2 weeks if Nick Bonito's showing that he's still the same guy, just pay him and get it over with. But right now, I just don't think it's going to happen right now, honestly. But that's just my point there. The next thing we got up is should the Broncos trade McMillan, the cornerback, the slot corner? Muhammad, what are your thoughts on this?
Kind of torn in this, Eddie, because we have such a good depth as far as the corners. You know, even though Barron is not still not there yet, I think it might be. It's probably going to take him a few weeks, maybe a couple of games on the season to get there. But I want to keep him just as an insurance policy, as a just in case something happens, you know. And we can use him like as a rotation piece, you know, especially if we're going to go deep in the playoffs, you know. But then at the same time, what if a team comes in with a really good offer? Like, what do we do? You know, maybe like a hey, we'll give you a second round pick for McMillan. You know, that might be crazy. What are you gonna do? If even a third round pick, Eddie, what will you do in that situation? So it's hard. It's a hard decision, Eddie. Especially if, like I said, if a team comes with a good offer, then what do you do? If it's up to me, I would say no, wait, keep him till maybe next season. He's gonna be. He is about to get paid too, right? Next season, if he stays, I guess his contract is about to be up.
Think so. He his contract was up after last season, but they gave him an extension for a year, I believe.
Yeah. So I don't know, Eddie. I want him to stay, but I think if a team comes in with an offer, they might trade him. What do you think?
Well, this is my thing. I think it depends on honestly. You got two corners, one of which you drafted in the first round. Like I said, he didn't really have a great debut yet, but I don't think he really got targeted that much. He was playing out there a little bit. He had an okay game, and that's Barron. But you also got Chris Abrams Drain, who balled out. My thing is like we know it. I shouldn't say we know, but the talk around the watering hole is that Barron was drafted to be the slot nickel corner because that's what he played in college and that's what the Broncos were looking for. And Abrams Drain is basically the backup to like a Riley Moss or a Patrick Surtain in case one of those guys go down. That's just the way I've always seen it. But I would wait. I wouldn't trade McMillan now. What I would do is whenever you get to the last week of the preseason, week 4, the week that they have to do their 53-man cut downs, what I would do is I would see what Jody Barron does in these next two games. I guarantee you Barron's going to play next week, and he's probably going to play in the week or preseason week 3 against the Saints. He's going to play. If he, like, I'm not saying he had a great game. I'm not saying had a horrible game last night. But just let him have that a little bit more time, a little bit more experience. Let him learn a little bit, get those couple more games under his belt. And if he proves that he can be that starting nickel corner, then yeah, trade him. Especially if the team comes in. Hell, if they give you a 4th-round pick. McMillan was an undrafted free agent. You get any draft capital out of this guy. That's good. And if he keeps playing the way he is, you probably could get a 4th or 3rd out of him for an undrafted free agent that you drafted a few years or you signed a few years back. So, and that's a question for a lot of for the depth on this roster, man. There's a lot of players, a lot. You got offensive linemen, you got linebackers or outside linebackers, you got defensive linemen, you got corners, you got running backs. There's a million positions that you could trade. I'm not saying you're going to get high draft picks, but even if you get a 6th or a 5th, hell, even a 7th for some guys, trade them and do it. I mean, what was it? A few years ago, they traded, who was it? They traded, it was a receiver. I can't remember who it was, but they traded a receiver that was an undrafted free agent. I think they got a 6th-round pick out of him to the Detroit Lions. Dude, like, we know what George Payton can do with that draft capital late rounds in the draft. We know what he's good at doing. One of the big reasons why he's still here is because he's great at finding talent in late rounds of the draft. So if you could trade like, let's just say McLaughlin, you could trade a Jaquan McMillan, you could trade, say, Dondre Tillman, which I really don't want to get rid of him, but there's a lot of guys going to be looking outside. If you could trade a Blake Watson or an Audric Estimate, you can trade one of these guys and get like a 5th, 6th, or 7th round pick. Do it because George Payton will be able to find something out of the draft next year with those picks. So I'd be all for it. Like, I would hate to see him go, but man, draft capital in George Payton's hand, any draft capital, first, second, third, fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, it's gold. Because Jonathan Cooper, Nick Benio, late round picks. There was another one in there. I'm forgetting. I know I'm forgetting. But even just like and even if you don't get a whole lot of draft capital out of them, you just have to cut them. It's like, dude, look at all the undrafted free agents George Payton has found. McMillan, McLaughlin, who was the other one? We just kind of like Tyler Bidet, Blake Watson. These guys were all undrafted free agents. He's good at even finding those guys. So these guys are going to want contracts. You can if you have to cut them, you can have faith that George Payton's going to find these kinds of guys in next year's, after next year's draft. And if you can get like a 5th or 6th or 7th round pick out of one of these guys, do it. Because he can find stuff in the late rounds of the draft. So Eddie, I'm fine with it.
Teams are ready. They're watching. They're waiting for those guys to be cut. They're going to be snatching our players. We have so much. It's just crazy.
Look at Tim Patrick.
Yeah.
I know it's like a poor example, but the guy had 2 season-ending injuries, 2022 and 2023. The Broncos cut him last year during the 2024 training camp and preseason. They cut him after it. What happened? He immediately, a guy that was almost 30 years old with 2 season-ending injuries the 2 years prior, got picked up immediately by the Detroit Lions. Or was it the Lions?
Yeah, it was the Lions.
Was it? Okay, I couldn't remember. I can only imagine with like a McLaughlin, McMillan, with a Q Robinson, like if he doesn't make the roster by some stretch of the imagination, and if he has a great preseason, you can get probably assets out of these guys. These guys are young, they're not injury prone, and you could probably get something out of it. So I'd be all for it.
And even JM could get traded.
Yeah. If Savion Jones actually had a decent game last night too, if he turns out to be the guy you need, like if the next 2 preseason games he shows he could be that guy opposite of Zach Allen, you could see a John Franklin Myers getting traded. It's possible. And honestly, we gave up a 6th round pick for him a few years ago. If you can get a 4th or a 3rd out of him, holy crap, dude. I would enjoy every second of that.
Yeah, so long.
Yeah, if you can get a 4th or 3rd out of him and Savion Jones proves he can be that next guy up, then do it. Do it. But defensive line, they might not trade John Franklin Myers. The only reason why I say this, I think it was Matt Henningsen. I think he had a season-ending injury is what I heard on X. So they might not trade anybody on the defensive line, because of that. We'll just have to wait and see. But next up, running backs. Mohammed, oh my God. This is probably the most out of corners, safety, outside linebacker, defensive line, offense, receiver, everything. The running back room to me is going to be the hardest position to decide who we already know who the top 2 starters are going to be. I personally think they're going to keep 3 running backs because I think they're going to keep Burton as the, fullback.
Yeah.
So if they weren't going to keep Burton, I'd say they carry 4 running backs. But the fact I think they're going to keep Burton, they're only going to have 3 spots open. 2 of them are already taken by Dobbins and Harvey. What are your thoughts on the running back room? Who do you think? I already said who I thought, but who do you think is going to be that 3rd running back behind those guys?
Eddie, I want Blake Watson so bad to be the 3rd running back. I don't think they're going to do it. You can make an argument for Bidet too. You said that too. But Estime, I'm sorry, man. I love Estime. You know how I feel about him, but yeah, he was decent yesterday. But come on, Blake Watson, Bidet, they were playing lights out, man. But yeah, if it's up to me, I'll pick Blake Watson as the 3rd running back.
Unless Estime comes out in these next 2 preseason games and just has like a Hall of Fame type of run in the preseason. The good thing about last night with Estime was he didn't fumble. He
No,
didn't
he's
fumble
not.
a single time,
Yeah.
which was that was the thing on him last year was he was fumbling. He didn't fumble in the preseason. I haven't heard about him fumbling in the training camp either. But he's going to have like in preseason game 2 and preseason game 3, he's going to have like a Superman type performance in both games, I think, to make this roster, to make it above McLaughlin, to make it above Bidet or Blake Watson. He's going to have to. And I just don't see it happening. I think Estime is the main one. If I had to guess right now, with that third running back spot on the depth chart right now for the 53, it's like it's a race between McLaughlin, Bidet, for that last spot. These guys, all those three of those guys are like right here together. Estime down here, like way, way down. Like I said, he's gonna have like a Hall of Fame type game to get above all those guys, and those guys suck. So I just don't see it happening. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe the Broncos do carry 4 running backs, and I would might maybe give him more of an chance. But I still think even if they carry 4, and that gives him a chance, he's still on the outside looking in from those other 2 guys, or those other 3 guys. I'm sorry. So yeah, I don't see it, man. I feel really bad for Estime. I like the kid, but maybe he just needs to go somewhere else where he can actually get a starting job.
He will.
Because this running back room here in Denver is too damn deep for him to make it.
Not even the practice squad. He'll get he'll. I'm sure some team will pick him up.
Like I said, I think what's going to happen is the Broncos are going to carry 3. I think Bidet's going to be that guy that makes the last spot. I think McLaughlin gets traded, Estime gets cut, Watson gets put on the practice squad. That's what I think happens. You could flip Bidet and Watson around. They put Bidet on the practice squad, and they put Watson on the active roster. But I think if they try to put I think if they try to put Bidet on the practice squad, I think he's just going to leave because he's going to be like, you know what, I want a chance to actually play and be on the active roster. He might just be like, I'm just going to go somewhere else.
Exactly.
And if that's the case, if that happens, I think McLaughlin 100%, in my opinion, is going to get traded. I think they can get something out of him, and they're going to try to do that. But if say Bidet or Watson, like one of those 2 guys don't make the roster, you can make an argument that both of them, whoever is the one that gets put on the practice squad, be like, you know what, I think I'm going to go somewhere else, where I get a chance to play on game day. And if that happens, if one of those 2 guys are like, nah, I think we're just going to leave, the Broncos, trade McLaughlin. They got Harvey, Dobbins, and then whoever, Bidet or Watson, and whoever they don't keep, he's like, I'm going to go to another team. That gives Estime a chance to maybe sneak back onto the practice squads where they have a running back at least on the practice squad. But if that doesn't happen, then Estime is most likely going to get cut, and he's probably going to be playing somewhere else this year. That's just the way I see it. But again, guys, if you could please like, comment, subscribe on this video. Also hit the bell notification so you know when we go live. Mohammed, any final thoughts before we get out of here tonight?
Just want to say, Eddie, I'm glad football is back. I mean, good. Like Thursday, I watched some football. I didn't watch like a whole game, but I was watching a little bit. Friday, I watched some football. Yesterday, today, I'm sure I will. Football is back. It's preseason, but hey, it's football. There's news. There's highlights. There's things to watch, and it's exciting. I can't wait for the Broncos preseason game number 2. So.
Yeah, football is back. I've been watching football every night. There was games on Thursday, games on Friday, of course, games yesterday. They got 2 games today, which honestly, it's at halftime right now, but there's a game on right now, the Saints at the Chargers. I'm watching that. I still got it on my TV as we're sitting here doing this. And I'll probably finish up watching that. And then also, this doesn't really have a lot to do with the Broncos, but Madden 26, I was able to get it on Thursday. So I've been playing that like a madman. I've already played a whole season with the Broncos, won the Super Bowl.
Oh, wow. Okay.
So, but with that said, I've also, I also got another franchise mode going where I'm playing as the Saints because to me, they're like the worst team in the game. And I love rebuilding the worst teams in the game. Like I love playing with the Broncos. And for a while there, it was pretty much just nothing but rebuilds, 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 rebuilds with them. But now that the Broncos actually have their guy, I can actually play and have fun with the Broncos and dominate the division. But then I also play with like the worst team in the game, which in this year it's the Saints. Like I'm rebuilding them. Like I'm going to play through the season. They're probably going to suck, and I'm going to trade everybody away and hire a new head coach. Like that's something I love to do on Madden. It's like one of my favorite things I've done since I was a kid. So, but that's it for us tonight, guys. I'm not going to keep rambling on. We're at 40 minutes, and I'm starting to feel a little bit sicker. So, but we'll be back next week after preseason game 2. I think that game is on Saturday, Mohammed. I think it's another late window game on next Saturday. So we'll be back next Sunday, guys, just like today, because the game's probably so late that it's going to be really late for Muhammad there on the East Coast. So we'll do our live next week on Sunday. So if you guys, again, please like, comment, subscribe on this video. Hit that bell notification so you know when we go live. Muhammad, great talking to you again, brother, and I look forward to seeing you next week.
All right, you take care.
See you guys.